Hey guys, I am Pixel Dan, and today we're going to be checking out the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Ultimates Splinter action figure from the folks over at Super7. Yeah, we are continuing our look at Wave 1 of the brand new Ultimates TMNT toy line, and we're going to check out Master Splinter here today. So as you can see, he comes in the hero-themed packaging with the bright green slipcover, but again, he's got his own individual, like embossed sewer logo right there in the front with his face. Love the little bow and arrows right there as well. I think that's really cool. TMNT logo on the back, and this slipcover does slide right off the box to reveal this very cool kind of green brick sewer layer type print on the box. We've got bio for Splinter on the back of the packaging. I love it. You got like the Turtles logo shining up here, lots of graffiti. You know, I've already gushed about this in the other videos I've done in this wave, but the packaging is absolutely gorgeous. We got this full window that showcases Splinter and his many accessories that you can see packed in there. Look at that. You can see he's wearing a cloth robe. But down there, we've even got like a plastic robe. Man, we're going to have so many display options. This is awesome. And you know what? This is another figure that I'm really happy to see right away in Wave 1. It feels like we don't get Splinter like always in these collector lines, like out the gate. And Splinter's one of those characters that has had so many different looks over the years. You know, every cartoon, every movie, every toy line, Splinter always changes. Like, he's one of those characters that I feel like changes the most because he's got very distinct looks in all of those different media. This one's based on the original Splinter action figure, which does differ from the original cartoon series. So it's going to be really cool to see this out of the package in this collector figure form. So let's do it. What are we waiting for? Let's open up this box and get a closer look at the Splinter action figure. Alright, so we've got Master Splinter opened up outside of the packaging. Of course, we're going to start things off with the tape measure. So you can see that Splinter stands just above 5 inches tall. Now, of course, he does have kind of like this squat pose with these bent legs. He's a little hunched over, so it does make him appear a little bit shorter. But, you know, just to see what he looks like standing alongside the Turtles, he is a bit shorter than the Ninja Turtles, which is accurate, so very cool. This is a 7-inch scale line, but it is really nice to see that all of these figures are scaled appropriately with each other. And just like all of the other figures in the Ultimates TMNT line from Super7, this is of course inspired by the look of Splinter from the vintage toy line by Playmates Toys. And it is very apparent when looking at this because, I mean, this one here almost just looks identical to the vintage figure, but upgraded. You know, he's a bit bigger. Honestly, the detailing with the fur and everything in the sculpt is a bit more detailed. And then, of course, we've got the added articulation as well. You'll also notice that he is wearing this cloth robe, just like on the vintage action figure. Now, one thing that's cool about this is that we've got a plastic robe as well, so we have two different ways to display this guy. So I'll show you that in just a bit, but first we should probably focus on the articulation, because I think it'd be better to kind of show that off with the robe. But we'll switch it, and then I'll show you that as well, just so we can make sure it doesn't have any hindrance in his movements. I will say I like the cloth robe quite a bit. I'm always, you know, kind of hit or miss when it comes to soft goods on my action figures, but this looks really good. I think part of it is just because I'm used to seeing this version of Splinter with a soft goods robe, but Super7's done a pretty good job with their soft goods, honestly, and this looks pretty nice on there. It's a good color purple. It seems like it's quality made. I love the tatters at the bottom there, and it actually like sits on the figure really nicely. Otherwise, with the rest of the details here, they do mimic what the vintage toy did quite a bit. The eyes are just whited out. You kind of have this white or grayish like airbrushing over the nose there, same as on the front of the figure, but there is a bit of a black wash you can see in the arms there that brings out the fur and everything like that. Then we've got the kind of wraps around the ankles, and the tip of the tail there is also in that same gray. So really nice looking figure overall. So let's talk about that articulation. The head is ball jointed like the others, but because he's got that neck that kind of is hunched over there, really you can only kind of move his head like side to side. You know, you don't really get a really good range of motion there with it. You can kind of go up and down like that as well. You got the ball-like joints at the shoulders, though they don't come out too far, but you can get them about straight up and down there. forwards and backwards, nice tight joints. You got swivels at the elbow. You have a standard single elbow joint. You got swivels at the wrist. You've got hinges at the wrist there. You can see we do have a joint at the torso there, which kind of makes it so you can like swivel it, but it does kind of roll around there as well, which is very, very nice. We're going to lift up his robe here just so you guys can see the articulation of his thighs. He's got those hinge-like joints there so they can go outwards, forwards, backwards. You got a swivel at the knee. You do have a single bend at the knee. Again, these knees are sculpted in a way where his legs are always kind of bent. You can see how the knee kind of comes over the joint there. And then he's got those ball joints at the ankles, so you can see his feet can move forwards and backwards at the ankle as well as rock side to side. Now, one thing with Splinter's feet is he's got those big old rat feet there, and you can see that only the front, like the toes, have the flat end for standing. So he's meant to kind of stand like this, you know, kind of how a rodent would stand kind of on the edges of their feet like that, or the balls of their feet. This does result in some balance issues sometimes. You can see I'm standing them pretty good, but the joints are a bit loose at the ankles. You can kind of see that there. Do you see how it's kind of like falling sometimes? So getting him to stand on the feet the right way is a bit tricky sometimes. He's got those cane accessories, which help just a little bit, just like on the vintage toy. But yeah, that's something you definitely want to watch out for. His ankles are a bit looser than I'd like them to be. And then the tail back here also is jointed. You got the hinge there, so it can kind of roll all the way around. You can move it up and down, but then it's also got a joint here where the tail meets the fur and it swivels. So good amount of articulation, very much on par with what we've seen with the other figures in this line. And like I said, he feels nice and solid, with my only real complaint being those feet. You can really see how he's bending forward right now. It's a bit tricky getting him to stand because his ankles are a bit too loose. So let's switch him over to that plastic robe. So the belt here is a stretchy material, so you don't even need to unbuckle it. You can actually just slide it right off the figure just like that, and then the cloth robe will just pull right off of his arms. So let's undress Splinter here in front of the entire world. So here's what your D-Robe Splinter action figure looks like, and then we can bring in the plastic robe, which is made of a nice pliable material, so it stretches very easily over the figure. And then this has got like a little peg where the belt would be, like a little peg hole, so you can plug that in there. It actually fits pretty decent. I'm a little worried about that kind of popping out of place over time because it's just such a soft, flexible plastic. But otherwise, it looks really good. It sits on the figure very nicely. And that way, for those of you who don't like the soft goods robe, you've got this as an option as well. And I believe this is the way he was originally shown off. So you've got these two different options. I like both of them. So I'm not entirely sure yet which one I'm going to use to display them. But I do really like that we've got the option between the two. So we can go more vintage figure, or we can go a little more modern with the more sculpted looking robe. Now, he's got tons of accessories, just like all of the figures in this lineup. So first of all, he's got a bunch of interchangeable hands here. You can see the hands I've got him on right now are kind of like these slight gripping hands there. You know, we got like the bent fingers, but we also have a pair of closed fists right there. We've got a pair of like open hands right there, and then we've got a pair of gripping hands. So you can easily pop these in just by pulling the peg right out of the socket. You can take the new hand, snap it in place, articulation maintains, and that way we've got a couple different options for the different hands, and of course those will work with the accessories, but we're going to talk a bit more about that here as we get into those. So, accessories. Just like the other figures in this line, we do have a set of unpainted weapons attached to a sprue, which is a callback to the vintage toy line, so it's fun. You could pop those off there if you really want to, but you don't have to because we also have a more detailed pair. Now, I will say that all of his accessories are still wood-colored, but you can see that they're darker, and they definitely added a wash in there to make them stand out. And then, you know, like in the case of the bow, we got some gray and silver on there as well. You know, the bow's not even on this. But you know, we do have some extra paint on these accessories here. So let's talk about all these accessories. First of all, we've got two different staves, or canes for Splinter. So this one is more like a basic cane. It definitely has more of like the animated kind of appeal. Basically, it's best to kind of place it underneath his hand. These hands that kind of have like the bent fingers work the best for the canes. So it works pretty good. And like I said, that also helps with the balance. But what's really cool is for fans of the vintage toy, we also have this cane right here, which again can fit right under the figure's hand, but also it's got the hidden blade inside, just like on the vintage toy. And it's a fully painted silver blade, which is really, really cool. So that way you can pose him holding onto that hidden blade while doing some battle. Really, really love that. He does come with a pair of throwing stars as well, just like we've seen with Raphael. They are painted silver. The gripping hands hold those the best, but it's always hard to get throwing stars in the hands of an action figure. And then we've got that bow and 3 arrows. You can see the arrowheads are painted silver. They are very nice. So let me talk about this bow a little bit. So I talked about how he's got all these different hands, but one thing that I've noticed is that the hands are pretty hard to match up with the accessories the right way. My favorite ones are definitely the ones with the bent fingers, because you can at least get them to rest on the cane. But, you know, the gripping hand's a bit too tight, and you can't get the gripping hand around the bow. I mean, it is just way, way too tight. So the only thing that I've really been able to do is, again, that same kind of open grip hand. You can get him to hold that, but obviously his fingers are sticking way off the bow. He gets a decently tight grip on it, though, between his thumb and his pinky. But that's the only way I can really get him to hold on to that. Now, his gripping hand does work decent for the arrows, and it's really cool because there's a little notch on the back of the arrows. You can actually stretch the string, and I was able to get Splinter pose, kind of like looking like he was going to fire the bow and arrow, so that is really, really nice. It's just interesting that I ran into these problems, like he's got all these hands, but it's hard to find the right hands to actually grip the accessories. And that same thing's going to hold true for this other accessory. Now, this is an awesome accessory. It's a little mug of hot tea. You've got this great translucent steam that's coming out of it. It's like an all-new original accessory for a Splinter action figure. I was very excited for this, but none of these hands like properly hold on to this mug. You know, the best I could really do is kind of, again, get it in that more open hand there. You can kind of get it gripped around, or maybe you can run the fingers a little through the handle of the mug. It's a cool accessory, but you're really gonna have to do some work to get them to properly hold onto it, I feel like. The last accessory we've got is awesome. It's a little baby turtle. This is great, and he's got some really nice paint deco there, just like these little round yellow eyes, but he's got a cute smile on his face. No articulation. I do really like the open palm hands for Splinter, so he can like hold on to the turtle as if he scooped him up. I'd like to see 3 more of these somewhere throughout this line, so we can get 4 baby turtles. I think that would be really, really cool. All right, guys, it's comparison time. So here is the brand new Splinter action figure standing alongside his vintage figure counterpart, just so I can show you guys how similar he is to that original version there. Really cool seeing how much was taken from that, but also how much was updated. And hey, just for fun, let's throw him alongside the NECA movie Splinter. 2 totally different looks, but it is cool seeing 2 collector Splinters standing alongside each other. And while we're showing them next to NECA figures, let's go and throw in, say, Metalhead and the recent Shredder from the original comics, just because I want to show you how these new figures from Super7 scale with the NECA ones. I mean, right here you have 3 very different looks from 3 different forms of Turtles media, and all in all, these figures actually display pretty well alongside each other. So there you go, my friends. There is a look at the brand new TMNT Ultimates Masters Splinter action figure from the folks over at Super7. All in all, I do really like this one. He's got some issues. He's got the loose ankles that makes it hard for him to stand without balancing them properly with his tail and his cane. And also, I ran into that weird issue with the hands just not matching up with the accessories too well. I do like the look. I think the quality is still really nice on these. And like I said in the beginning, I think it's cool seeing this version of Splinter get an update, because basically every version of Splinter from all the toy lines and all the cartoons and all the movies has a completely different look. So it's neat seeing the original toy get an updated figure for collectors. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button, leave me a comment, and please don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, my friends.